We have got about 10 minutes, so we'll get on started.
Okay.
And then just to start, Dana, why don't we begin with you? And then we'll go to Tony, and then we'll go to Michael.
Okay, great.
And then please hide your screens if you're not interviewing, just because I'll be recording it and want to make sure everyone has their time. Thank you.
There has been so many ups and downs with everyone's character. I was wondering, throughout the entire seasons, was there a moment that truly shocked you, even though you knew it was coming? You truly shocked you when you watched it.
Yeah, that happens this season, and I didn't know it was coming. And it really shocked me. It was really emotional, actually. And shooting it was emotional as well.
And we can't tell you what it is.
So don't even ask. I guess, yeah, I mean, that and last year, obviously killing the major was very, very shocking. I know I was saying earlier to another reporter, I like to kind of, I don't want to know too much, and I like to kind of go from scene to scene. So I'm not really one to really ask, what's happening. So finding out that I accidentally killed the major last season was pretty epic.
Tony, you want to go ahead?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm on. For this coming season, I guess working around COVID and getting all that done, how has that been for each of you?
I think for the actors, there was a kind of a period where you had to get your footing, figured out, because it's such a different world that we're living in. But with everything, you do find a groove, and we have, really strict particular protocol, and we're very diligent in terms of how we are working and how we are making sure that we follow that protocol. And we're almost done, and it's, knock on wood, like, we've been smooth sailing. And I think that's a testament to, the COVID compliance people that, are on set with us every single day, and making sure that these rules are implemented, because safety is the number one concern here for all of us, And on top of that, we have like a really great, our crew and our cast is so great, and we care about one another a lot, and there's everyone just wants to come to work, be safe, do the job that we are supposed to be here doing, because we're all very grateful, I'm sure, to be working during this time. So we just want to get through it, and get through it happy and healthy.
Amen. I agree with everything Parveen said. COVID protocol is everything here, from the moment you arrive at set and go through multiple checklists to make sure that you're safe and healthy. People are testing 4 times a week. Masks, shields, goggles, and particularly challenging on screen, because while the actors have their masks off, we've been trying to keep physicality, physical intimacy to a minimum, and that's hard on a relationship and family drama. And we're here to talk about sci-fi today, but there's obviously emotional storytelling involved, and that's been very challenging in a COVID environment. And so it forces the writers and the actors and the directors to find ways to convey emotional intimacy in ways that you might not expect, when you don't necessarily have the low-hanging fruit of having people locking lips all the time.
Yeah.
So I have a question about how things switch gears from season to season, because with the tale section showing up and presenting its own new mystery, you have, season 1 about learning about the callings, season 2 about the death dates, and now the tale section. But my question is actually not about that. It's about, what are you most proud of that has remained consistent through all 3 seasons narratively, that we can expect to see in the coming season that will not be any different?
Well, I can speak for Sanvi in terms of my proudest. I feel so proud that she has been so resilient throughout this entire timeline for her, and how much she's actually grown as a character, as well as she's ever evolving and she's ever getting stronger, and she's you know is put into situations, and she's been coming out still with a very focused and specific goal. And I admire that hasn't changed for her, and that's her, thread throughout, so far season 3, is that nothing will stop her to figure out what has happened, and it doesn't matter what gets thrown in her way. And I mean, gosh, I wish I was like that in real life.
And I'll just pile onto it too, what Parveen said, because my answer would be related. And it's that I think that what's been consistent and remains consistent is that the show, despite all its bells and whistles in terms of the kind of supernatural conceit, the fact that we have kind of a deep and evolving mythology, and there's lots of clues and Easter eggs, and the show is a really fun puzzle to solve. But that the show always has a strong emotional core, that the show is always about character. I think that's the reason that the show is still on the air, because even if you love all of the mythology and all of the sci-fi aspects of the show, I don't think that you stay involved if you're not emotionally invested. And I think you'll find in season 3 that that emotional storytelling remains front and center. It certainly is ever present in Sanvi's character. It's certainly present in the Stone household, in the new household that exists between Michaela and Zeke, and in standalone stories as we continue to meet new passengers and understand their journeys. I always work with the writing staff to make sure that we're telling the story through lens of grounded, relatable emotion. And I'm optimistic that the audience will feel that that's still front and center.
Yes, I was wondering, now you guys, for 3 seasons, you've created such an incredible and rich mythology. I was wondering, with each season, do you draw inspiration from different properties or any type of personal thing in order to keep the show remaining fresh with new ideas?
When you say properties, are you talking about
Either is it certain TV shows, books, that kind of.
Got it. Look, fundamentally, no, in the sense that the show is its own thing. The story is its own story. And I'm a little bit guilty of engaging too much with some of our fans on social media, and have occasionally gotten into some spirited conversations when some fans don't like when a story goes in this direction or that direction. And I almost always say the same thing, which is, the story is the story, folks. The story is the story. And so, our fundamental story points remain tethered to the roadmap that we set out, before we shot the pilot, and will all the way to the end. All of that said, Dana, all of that said, of how could a writer's room not be influenced by the incredible renaissance that we're seeing out there in entertainment, particularly in television? In my humble opinion, television has never been stronger. In my opinion, it's really kind of the apex in terms of creativity out there, with all of the amazing shows that we're seeing, in which genres are being pushed and edges are being pushed, and rarely does a day in the writer's room go by without some writer saying, "Did you see last night on this? Did you see last night on that?" And we are the creators of our own story, but we're also fans, and I'm sure 100 times every season. Sometimes whether I know it or not, because a pitch came in from the writers, and I'm not in the writers' room all the time, and so I don't necessarily know how we got to, you know, this A story or to this B story. You know, I'll come back and I'll say, okay, guys, pitch me where we're at for episode 7, and you know, I'll give notes. And there was at least one time in the history of this show when we got to a story point, and I was watching something on a streamer. I'm not going to say what it is, and I got, like, you know, to episode 6 or 7 of some streamer that I was watching, and I just went, oh man, that's like exactly like when we did this, you know. And now, did the writers who had pitched that story to me, you know, unconsciously, you know, pitch that because they had that in their head? I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know, but I would just say it's impossible, you know, for our storytelling not to be informed by the other writers and directors and creative content makers out there. 100%. Parveen, any thoughts there?
Wait, in terms of like, well, I mean, as an actor, that certainly happens. I see performances all the time, and I feel very compelled and I feel very inspired. So, I mean, I'm someone that's just trying to be inspired all the time. I think that's even just a healthy, great way to live your life. And if you can bring that into your work, that's great. I'm sure I do a lot of things that I'm like, oh, I saw someone else do that. And then I kind of turned it into my own. I steal like an artist, as they say.
Well said.
Have there been any surprises as far as this season is concerned, whether from the writing standpoint and the acting standpoint?
Oh, have there been any surprises in terms of the acting standpoint? Not so much in terms of how I prepare or how I perform. We're just, you know, we do pick up 3 months later after Sanvi accidentally killing the major. So for me, just picking up in that state of mind and going from there. But, you know, Sanvi does make a big discovery that internally there is a big shift for her, and internally this discovery maybe makes her question who she is, which is huge. You know, that was a pleasant and scary and emotional discovery.
And Jeff, from the writing standpoint, anything surprise you from the path that you were on?
A lot, in small ways. In small ways, you know, a character will pop, and then you'll write more at that character. You know, you'll pitch on a story in a room, and you realize that what you thought was a one-off that was going to kind of be a closed-ended journey organically connects to this other story over here, and that you know, that happens, and you know, there's a lot of new ideas this season, but this season is also, and the actors don't know this, so Parveen's not gonna, I don't think the actors know this, so I don't think Parveen's gonna know what I'm talking about, but this season also serves as an origin story for a very fundamental shift that kind of reinvents the series in season 4 and beyond, and that origin story, the way that ended up playing out in terms of a couple characters that are inherent to season 3, and yet are sort of, you know, still in their Anakin mode, and they haven't got into their Darth Vader mode yet. And the way that we've kind of navigated that transition, the way the writers helped me navigate that surprised me in a very pleasant way. And I think we have some cool surprises coming that are going to take our actors very much by surprise as they start reading the final couple scripts of the season.
Then it wouldn't be manifest.
Well said.
So I know Parveen has already spoken to this somewhat for her own character, but one of the questions I have written here is, are there any characters who in season 3 are doing something substantially different? Because I know between season 1 and 2, you know, there were big shifts for Jared, there were big shifts for Grace. There were, and Parveen, of course, you've changed every season, it seems like.
Yeah.
So are there any other characters that are taking on, really big new roles that they weren't previously exploring?
Should I start? I'll start. For sure. Zeke spent, Matt Long, who plays Zeke spent all of season 2 trying to save, his life and trying to understand how to survive. And now that he's on the B side of that, the world is a very different place for him. And I don't want to give away the farm in regard to what happens with him in season 3, but mythologically he shifts. He shifts. His interactivity with the callings is different than it was in season 2. He's got like a new thing going on that I'll let the audience kind of find out about in real time, and trying to figure out his place in the world is an evolving journey for him. And while origin story is the wrong word, he's sort of platforming something all season that's going to take him to kind of a different place, once we get to the end of the season. Cal is older and wiser and a little bit more kind of weathered in the aftermath of all of the torment that he went through in season 2. Just like the actors going to inherently growing up, going to feel a little, older and wiser. And Ben and Michaela remain quite dogged. Jared is a dog with a bone in regard to this investigation, that he doesn't realize it, but he's investigating Parveen, he's investigating Sanvi, and so that's new. That's some stuff there. Parveen, anything else?
No, I was gonna mention Zeke.
Yeah, and then I mean, we have kind of buried the lead in regard to Sanvi, because we've talked about her kind of partnering with Vance as the investigation goes further. It's more than her partnering with Vance, and I'm not going to explain the nature of that, but let's just say that Sanvi early in the season and then for the rest of the season ends up having a front row seat to the 828 investigation in a way that she never could have imagined when she was standing there next to that park bench at the end of season 2.
Sanvi's always in it. Sanvi's always in something.
Thank you very much.
I was wondering for Parveen, there's so many wonderful, rich characters on the show. Have you found yourself getting invested in a particular character or a storyline?
Yeah, Zeke, I was, and even with what Zeke ends up going through season 3, Zeke and Sanvi, towards the end of season 2, we're starting to build a close relationship. I mean, I was, I felt responsible for him. So he's another character that I felt really invested in. And also the Major, I felt really invested in the Major. I mean, these are 2 characters that Sanvi interacted with. And as an actor, I got to play opposite of. So naturally, these were the 2 people that I felt very invested in. The Major was a really cool character.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice to see everybody.
Yeah. So
You're welcome.
go